Okay, so thanks for attending today's webinar. So I will start with my screen share first. Okay. Okay, so today we have six distinguished speakers to share their insight about our webinar topics. So we are going to very intensive discussion with interactive Q&A. So during the discussion, actually you can leave your question in chat, and then if you have some question to specific speaker, then just let him know about your question, and then he will give you your answer. Okay, so let me briefly go over some discussion topic. Okay, so first we're going to talk about AI-powered genomics and precision health. So actually, I already give you some of this like a topic even in the link and then in my LinkedIn profile, so you can see the detail. So actually, we're going to talk about personalized healthcare and then predictive AI model in genomic research and advance in AI-driven sequencing techniques and advanced enhanced understanding of the inflammatory and autoimmune conditions and impact on cancer research and prevent health strategy like that. And the second one was about the driving drug development with genomic data and AI. So we are going to discuss about what is meant by the precision drug creation and target drug design. And third topic will be integrating genomic data with mobile wearable devices for holistic health monitoring. So we'll discuss about personalized health monitoring and dynamic wellness plan and beyond one-size-fits-all solutions. For the final topic is very important, next generation infrastructure and platform of AI-powered genomic data analysis for diverse health applications. So we are going to discuss about advancing healthcare with multi-omic integration, scalable computational resources, and hybrid cloud solution for flexibility. So we'll touch over these various topics. Okay, so without any delay, so I will pass over to the first speaker, Ali, to discuss about the AI-powered genomics and precision health. Ali, why don't you start?
Yeah, thank you so much, Alex. Very glad to be here. I just wanted to kind of reflect on how this field has changed over the years. My name is Ali Mostashari. I'm the CEO of LifeNome, a precision health company in New York City. I'm an MIT PhD and the top 20 cited scholars in the world in complexity science. And when we started in LifeNome in 2017, that's around 7 years ago, with Dr. Cohen and Dr. Mario Storga, all of us are like these top-cited scholars in our respective fields. We were really just imagining a world where person's biology would provide the blueprints for personalized health services. But at that time, it was very early. So we were very early to market. And the only thing that people knew about genomics was 23andMe, Ancestry, kind of like services testing, and people wanted to know if they're 23% Irish, and of course the next week they would still be 23% Irish. So most people weren't really familiar with that, or they also didn't know anything much about AI in terms of definitely the customer side. And many companies we spoke to about the concepts of personalization, precision health, they couldn't see how to fold in AI and biology-based personalization into their services and products. And that's where we see a significant shift. So around 7 years later, now we have one of the industry's most advanced B2B2C precision health platforms. We're serving more than 20 enterprises and healthcare systems clients in 14 countries, more than 500,000 patients. So this includes an entire country, like the country of UAE, where we're doing that. So a lot has changed in the past 2 to 3 years. And I think part of that is also the realization that it's not just genomics. When you're thinking about precision health, you have to think about all sorts of biomarkers. So we actually transformed into a biomarker-based precision health company that leverages the best science in genomics, epigenetics, microbiome, wearable data, EMR integration, and you combine that with powerful systems, biology-based AI engines, which we call basically BPTs, biology pre-trained transformers, to create these personalized health solutions. And the range of where this is now applied is pretty extensive. It can be ranged, like our platforms include things such as longevity, healthy aging, precision medicine, women's health, pregnancy, menopause, precision nutrition, precision performance, so many different areas that are really critical to human health. And basically, I think what we're seeing is an increase in terms of both on the demand side with regards to corporates and enterprises and interest in this area, but also significant awareness of the customer and client and patient base as end users with regards to their interest in these kinds of areas. And that was actually, interesting enough, exacerbated by the COVID-19 outbreak. So the combination of these, the growth of AI together with the COVID-19 health awareness kind of bump, as you can call it, has seen significant changes in this area. We see it is evolving, kind of going forward significantly more.
Thank you. And Joe? Joe, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. You can share your insight about AI for the genomic and precision health, please.
Yes, so I will do that. Is a screen share a bit possible?
Okay. You wanna share something?
If that's possible, yeah, I think people would make it easier to follow on.
Okay, so during I think that you can first to introduce yourself and your company before I make it happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can start. Yeah, you can start.
I can screen share?
Yeah, you can start to introduce yourself.
Oh, just start. Okay.
Yeah.
So my name's Joe Cohen. I'm the founder of SelfDecode, and we've been around since 2017. And what we do is we work on we've been investing a lot of resources into making the most cutting edge polygenic risk scoring. So looking at many millions of variants and using ancestry adjusted polygenic risk scoring. So we found that also the local ancestry, we have very sophisticated methods to determine not only the polygenic risk scoring, but also the local ancestry. And we just recently, about a month ago, we submitted a paper showing that our predictive power is actually the best in the world from anything that we've seen published. So we're very excited about that, and that's one of our main focuses. Now, we have 3 different units. One is like a B2B platform, and we have 67 companies that we service. So we provide them the infrastructure. Essentially, what we're seeing in the space is a very significant need for infrastructure in precision health, because you have companies, startups that want to get into this, or sometimes bigger companies, they don't have the resources to make very advanced polygenic risk scoring or to make the platform. There's really so much. We've invested $20 million into building out all these features, and a long time, and just to create this is very complex. So with the API, we have certain turnkey solutions, you could very easily just have make a company that either is focused on a certain area, or it could be mobile focused, it could be a certain niche focused, or it could be certain geography focused, and you could all of a sudden much more easily make an app that you can integrate genomics, and so we make it very easy for businesses to integrate genomics and precision health into their businesses. For practitioners, we also see increasing demand for longevity practitioners. You have a bunch of doctors like Peter Attia that are kind of, Sinclair, that are driving a movement of longevity, Andrew Huberman. And so we see a big need for genomics in and precision health in this area. So we also have a practitioner platform for that. And then there's also the consumer side as well, where consumers are also wanting something that is more comprehensive than something like 23andMe. So that's kind of the bigger picture of what we're doing. We've had 200,000 people go through the system, either through our B2Bs or through our one of our consumer apps. And so that means we have the 200,000 people who submitted their genetic data, and so we definitely are seeing a big. I would say the B2B side for us is growing much more than the other sides, because we see a lot of businesses want to get into this, and I would say the practitioner side is also growing more than the consumer, because the consumer side, you have much more difficult time educating people on what's the difference between what we're doing versus somebody who's analyzing 5 variants, and like basically junk technology versus good technology. The consumer doesn't really understand the difference, and what we're seeing in the space is that in the consumer world, there's a lot of junk technology that is coming online, because it's very hard to for the consumer to vet junk technology. So it's just, you put somebody in a lab coat and say, I'm a scientist, and all of a sudden, like, hey, how does the consumer know the difference between something good or not? But some of the things that we're in particularly working on that I wanted to show that I think is quite interesting, and I think it's pretty cutting edge in terms of the uniqueness in the space, is a GPT. So one is basically we have let's say an AI digital health coach that you can ask your genetics or lab tests any questions, which I think is, so I think there's a combination of, there's very sophisticated AI tools coming out, and we have sophisticated genetics technology, and we also have the ability to take in labs and analyze them, and we have a database of recommendations and content. And so by combining all that, it allows for people to have a one-stop shop where they can ask a question, and it acts as an AI digital health coach. So we could, if anyone wants to ask a question for my genetics, we can do that. But in general, you can ask, like, am I at risk for this? Am I at risk for that? We have 650 polygenic risk scores, and so you can ask pretty much any question, and it'll give you a reasonable answer. So that's pretty cool. And then the other thing that we see interest in is a longevity screener. So the way that I see genomics, where genomics plays in terms of the big ecosystem of products, if you will, there's lab testing, there's genomics. I see genomics as number one, basically screening you for what you are at risk for in the future. So we could take a whole bunch of the things that we have in this longevity screener is what we published in the paper as being the most accurate. And so, for example, something like we can tell you something like prostate cancer if you have a 34x odds ratio for that, and you might have a high lifetime risk but a normal 10-year risk, for example. So I think that is pretty cool. And then what we do is you can download a report, and it basically tells you exactly what lab tests to track, and then you could also figure out how to get each of those lab markers in the optimal range. So that's kind of the 3-stage process. Is number one, you want to know what you're at risk for. So there's 30 different conditions here. These are some significant conditions. You want to know what am I at risk for? And then for each of these things, you can track them over time. There's lab tests to track them over time. Not all of them are even so intuitive. For example, like let's say if I go here, there are certain labs. For example, there's PSA, but even within a complete blood count, there's certain labs that you could have that are basically increasing your risk if you're not in a certain range. So pretty much any condition if you you can look at labs, like let's say mood, for example. You would say, well, there's probably not very many labs related to mood, but actually there's quite a lot of labs that if you're not in a certain range, your risk of having certain mood issues go up quite significantly. So I think, number one is genetics tells you whether you have high risk for something. And then you can monitor a bunch of labs to see. So these are the number of labs that are related to mood, for example. And you could click on any of these labs to see. Yeah.
Oh, because we need
Yep.
to discuss a lot of topics. So could you share whatever you want to show in your link, like in the chat, that you can share your link so other audience can look at it in later? Could you please do
Yep.
that? Okay.
Yep.
And then maybe we can have more time in after the discussion. Then we have a Q&A session. That
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. I thought I just wanted to show it just to get a visual picture of certain things that that can be done. And yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And Amrie?
Hi, I'm Dr. Amrie Grammer. I'm the co-founder and president of AMPEL BioSolutions. So we've just heard Ali talk about multi-omics, which is very important, all aspects, and Joe talking about inheritance, genetics, and then everyday lab tests to monitor. What AMPEL does is we detect and manage inflammation, whether that's in wellness and longevity for the average person, or with someone who has an autoimmune or inflammatory disease. And how do we do that? We monitor dynamic RNA. So DNA is what you inherit. It never changes except for special circumstances. When you get a signal, I'm drinking coffee right now, caffeine, there are parts of my DNA that are opening up, and RNAs, genes are expressed, being turned on and off like light switches. What are the things that are special about AMPEL? One, we spent the time and the money to make the tools to cover 100% of RNAs. Similar to Ali and Joe, we're very highly ranked with our papers. Our impact factors in the top 5 of precision medicine companies in the country. We work with pharma in every disease area. We work on specific drug development to be able to enrich for patients. People call them subgroups or endotypes. I call them genomic fingerprint, that those people have the highest likelihood to respond to the drug being tested. And then we bring clinical care products to market. So we have over 10 pharma customers in lupus. They're all on the AMPEL BioSolutions website. 3 now in psoriasis, eczema, and scleroderma. We've launched our clinical care product for lupus called Lugene, which is available to patients now at about 5 sites across the country. That's growing with every day. To predict unexpected inflammation in lupus, that's called FLAIR, as well as a report that says what are the drug targets that are abnormal, so a physician can discuss the right drug for the right person at the right time. So I think it's very timely, the discussion today. I'm thrilled to be here with my colleagues to be talking about genetics, inheritance, multi-omics, linking that in with everyday blood tests and lupus, that's complement, CRP, as Joe just talked about, and autoantibodies. And now AMPEL bringing to the market blood tests that are measuring dynamic RNA. How do we do the predictions? That's why Alex has us all here today. We've used every aspect of machine learning, predictive AI. This is very different from what Ali was talking about with generative AI. Predictive AI is based on test and validation sets, and you get to a point you're adding in neural nets. So the math is just way too complicated for the human brain to comprehend. All of our analytics are CLIA certified. They're hosted in the cloud. Our current lab partner is in California, but our test can be done anywhere. And we draw into the standard packaging tubes that keep blood, or we use skin or kidney biopsy stable until analysis. So anybody that wants to learn more, you can reach out to me at info@ampel.org. Go to the website. Alex, very happy to answer any questions in the chat.
Thank you. Actually, stay there because you are the first for the next topic. Okay, so why don't you start about driving drug development with the genomic data and artificial intelligence? Could you please start now? Yeah.
Sure. AMPEL BioSolutions is focused on grouping RNAs by drug target. And I just talked about our clinical care products that are doing that across all pathways. We also have over 15 pharma customers today where they're coming to us with a particular drug target and they want to know the signature of the patient or the patient group that is likely to respond. So how do we do that? You hear about AI and drug development, and there are a lot of companies that are coming at that from the target standpoint. Ampel's coming from it, from the genomic fingerprint. What is the pattern of RNAs or genes that are often on that is characteristic of a patient that will respond? You think, why is this important? Well, in autoimmune diseases like lupus, there are only 2 drugs that have been approved by the FDA, Benlysta and anifrolumab, and they're used by less than 0.5% of people. Why? Because physicians don't have an accurate way to know who the drug is going to respond to. So a lot of pharma now are making complementary biomarkers to go alongside development. AMPEL is able to translate mouse to human, so we can start very early. This is very powerful because it makes drugs available, for example, in lupus, off-label, that are being used anyway, but it reaches treat to target. So right now it takes 5 years, if ever, to get to a drug that's going to work. And pharma is also frustrated because they want to make sure that in trials they get the highest number of people that have the RNA gene expression signature that indicates that that person will be responsive. I see a lot of things in the chat. Happy to answer any questions, Alex.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ari?
Hey, thanks, Alex. Again, I'm Eric Doherty. My background's been in healthcare all my life. I've been on the pharma side, the medical device side, the pharmacy side, and also now the digital healthcare side. I just exited a company a few months back called PERSOWN, which was an organization that had 3 different divisions. One was a diagnostic company, and then 2 were on the kind of electronic side of healthcare, where one was a global electronic health record system, and then one that was more relevant to what we're talking about today, where it basically was a generative AI type of platform where data coming in for an individual patient, be it the EHR records, be it the lab information records, be it the testing information that's coming in for a patient, be it any type of wearable or monitor that would have a data push. All that data was going into our system. We cleaned it up and then run it into generative AI, multiple algorithm setups, and basically providing real-time analysis of that data back for that individual patient. So pretty cool tech. One of the, I guess, things that I just want to make sure that's very clear in this conversation is AI is here to stay. As we all know, obviously machine learning has been around for about 2+ decades. Obviously, the movement now into generative AI is kind of the way of the future, but it is here to stay. I don't know if you all had seen the news yesterday, but this was in the news yesterday afternoon, where OpenAI is looking to raise additional funds to basically bring their valuation up to a little over $100 billion, which, if any of you all know, the pharma companies are pretty much the first 2 to 3 or 4 of the pharma companies are kind of in that range. A lot of the rest of them are in more the mid to lower end of the billions. But that is a substantial amount of capital that's being moved into that marketplace. And really, even on the pharma side, big companies like, and I'm going to scroll this down, Eli Lilly, AstraZeneca, and even Novartis. I mean, these are the probably top 10, they're in the top 10 pharma companies in the world. They're dumping money into AI just because of all the benefits that are coming out of it from a drug discovery standpoint, but also the speed to market that it brings because of the use of AI. I think the one thing that I've found over the last 3 to 4 years working in this area is the movement in trying to really capture the ability of solving the oncology equation and looking for basically medications that would potentially cure those patients who have cancer issues. And so as we're moving forward, that AI part thrown into clinical trials and basically the clinical trial development, but also that true drug discovery, where you're looking at basically structuring a drug and figuring out what and how it works and will it work. That is where the key of AI is going to come into full play.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move over to the next topic. It's a very important topic, is integrating genomic data with mobile wearable device for holistic health monitoring. So I think that Eric, you want to start first because they keep going up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will. And I think that's where it's kind of cool for me to be on here because I'm on the business side as opposed to the physician or PhD side. Taking in that data from a genomic standpoint is huge. And if you tie that into any type of, let's say, real-time analytic data that's coming in from a wearable, a sensor, some type of a monitor, to pull that data in alongside the genomic data is a huge benefit when it comes to obviously tracing and tracking that patient, but more importantly, going back to my earlier discussion around the drug discovery part and really figuring out if that drug is working or not. That's a huge benefit when you have the data coming in from those other types of devices and monitors, just because of the enhancement of information that's coming in. The one thing that I want to make sure of, though, is the cleanliness of that data. I mean, I'm sure all garbage in, garbage out. If you have good data, that's great. If you have bad data, that's not good, because obviously from an analysis standpoint, it can really muck things up when it comes to the actual true analysis of that information. So having the ability of having clean, good data that's relevant, have it interoperable, have it the ability of taking that data in and analyzing it in real time through a Gen AI type of system is something that truly makes a huge difference, not only for that patient, but also obviously for the system as well. And I think just one more thing I was going to add. I mean, the one thing that we're seeing more and more on my side of the business, and I'm going to be more specific on the pharmaceutical side, is the rare disease complement. A lot of the folks in pharma are looking at rare diseases and figuring out, okay, how can they go about potentially treating, but also obviously diminishing those rare diseases that are happening all around the world. There's a lot of money going into it. There's a lot of research going into it. There's a lot of government backing that's going into it. And so as pharma is moving forward, the ability to tie in AI around any of the information that they can do on drug discovery and then obviously treating those patients is a key element as well.
Thank you. How about Leon? Actually, he is particular for specific for this webinar because he's not only the innovator and businessman, actually the investor. So he will share about very important topic with respect as an investor view.
Alex, I am not only investor. I started like innovator. I invented the world first FDA cleared wearable, wrist wearable medical monitor that measure vital signs. So if you're looking for pulse oximetry world first on wrist having FDA clearance, this is my device developed in Oxitone Medical. So we were the first. Today it's not a big deal. Everybody has pulse oximetry at wrist, but not a lot having FDA clearance for these. Apple doesn't have, by the way. So, and here what Eric said, very important thing about good data and bad data. Because if you have real medical device, it's a good data, but people use Fitbit. It's actually sometimes a bad data. If we're talking about really ill people. For wellness, it's okay. So here is the issue that we develop today our product. I'm actually chairman of the Oxitone Medical currently. For 10 years, I manage this company like CEO. I'm a founder of this company. And several years ago, I moved, I call it to the dark side of the business. I became venture investor. And it's interesting that I continue to invest in startups in digital health and medtech area. And what I identified that recently in interest to the platform that integrate patient phenotype is growing, really is growing. And I identified two interesting areas or direction. One direction belongs to the sport, where combination or integration genomic data with wearable data just enables to investigate and to optimize athlete performance. So it's training, recovery, injury risk, body composition, energy levels, and nutrition. So having wearables and integrated with genetic data is possible to evaluate the same polygenic score, risk of injury, for example, or recovery time, and optimize it, integrating and developing specific AI algorithm, because wearable device enables to provide huge amount of data. For example, Oxitone, more than 10 vital signs at the same time with 1 second resolution. So it's a sleep data, very comprehensive sleep data, about 12 vital signs just to, and their derivatives just for sleep data that you can check also for sportsmen. And for another direction, that is patients and pharma. And for example, I just recently talked to people who are doing stress management and trying to understand stress from sleep data and having fundamental data about their PGS or score or polygenic score to understand exactly how stress influence on development of the disease that these patients inclined to because of based on their genetic data. So actually, when we consider this platform to invest, we consider what kind of wearables they do. For example, I know today a lot of universities looking for how to measure biomarkers. And maybe there are some patents applied recently that maybe measure, even using biomarkers, response of their direct response of patient behavior based on genome data. So this is totally new. So for example, or today wearables. Wearables is something intermediate towards implantables. Implantables will be able to get much more data about patient, and this is where integration of precision medicine integrated with wearables, not wearables, implantables, will grow dramatically. So today, investment in precision medicine is growing. There is a potential. It's not yet on the outperform some other type of investment. And because investors a little bit hesitate about regulation is not ready, about readiness of the platform, and more important, investors like to invest in the vertical. You have to have only one product. And many startups come to us with technology that enable to do 1,000 products, and they try to do it all together. So it should understand how to pitch investors precision medicine platform. I try to put everything in this speech, so forgive me.
Thank you very much. Okay, so Ali again.
Yeah, so building on what Eric and Leon were saying, I think definitely it's genomics is not enough for precision health. If we're talking about precision health, you need both the blueprints, which is what people are born with, how Amrie said, the issue of RNA, that's the actual expression of things that are happening, and then you have the physiological data that comes from wearables. Now, there's a challenge with wearables, and that is the kind of errors that we have in terms of what wearables measure. So if you take, we've actually done this experiment, you take two Apple Watches, from the same manufacturer, put it on the two different wrists of the same person. I did that with my son. And have them sleep over a week, and then you measure the data. And the data differs by 22% across with regards to what arm it was on. Now you do that with Fitbit, you get entirely different data and everything else. So there's a problem with currently with using wearables for medical decision making and health decision making. What is there is a signal which tells you that the trend, there's a systemic error. So the trend tells you whether someone is doing better or worse. The actual absolute data is really quite worthless, right? That comes from wearables. We cannot really focus on that to be the main thing. But again, I also liked the fact that Leon went beyond what we call wearables. That's why we don't call it wearables. We actually call it physiological data. So this is real-time data from your biology as it stands today, rather than it's coming from your hand. Right now, there's some non-wearables, which is like you can put your finger on the lens of a camera and get 14 vital signs there. You could have implantables. So think about data streams that we get from a functioning body in vivo that we can get in order to augment what we find on the genomic side and everything else. Now, to make Leon build on what Leon just said, we're also looking at something quite different, which is quite fascinating scientifically for us. Not everyone will do genetic testing, but what we want to do is to see whether we can correlate people's physiological responses to their genomic composition so that we don't have to test everyone for genomics, but we can actually broadly understand what is the likelihood of taking a person's vitals, their basic information and everything else, and have an intelligent guess of what kind of genetics they might have given the responses that are easier to measure and cheaper to measure. Because you don't want to pay $400 for a whole genome sequence, and that's a one-time thing. If you can actually kind of subsume that data, clustering it using AI algorithms, right? So this is, I think the future is basically to think about all of this as data streams from humans in order to personalize the effectiveness of their treatment. Why do we do all these personalization? Well, it can give you an answer. In terms of nutrition, if you take nutrition from a food for medicine, the impact of personalized nutrition achieves 4 times the health outcomes of a generic nutrition for food for medicine. On average, around 3.8 to 4 times with regards to energy levels, with regards to cholesterol reduction, a lot of others. So these are the publications in Nature that we can refer you to, which kind of show how personalization impacts the health outcomes. So rather than, and I'm more interested in the general topic than I'm interested in what our company can do. I'm far more interested in where are we as a field, rather than what the offering is for us in particular. And we would support everyone else who complements our offering by having something that we don't have. So from my perspective, if the audience is going to take something away, it's not something that we do at LifeNome or someone else does elsewhere. Get a sense of what this entire area has to offer. In the chat, I've put in a conference that Alex is also invited to. It's the Precision Health Summit 2024, and Leon is going to be speaking there as well. This is focusing entirely on precision health, 2 days full of lectures on all aspects of precision health, longevity, precision women's health, nutrition, precision medicine, wearables, everything. So whatever you've gotten in this webinar, expand that into significantly more, and you get 2 days of precision health in that seminar. Would love to see some of you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll finally move to the final topic about the very important, the next generation infrastructure platform of AI-powered genomic data analysis for diverse health applications. Okay, so Eric. Oh, okay, so maybe I'll leave there. So you start first because you can finish up your insight. Yeah.
So one of the things that we found with regards to this, the platform aspect of things is, so patient privacy and patient data privacy, whenever you want to do any kind of computation on it, you need to have, that's one of the things with regulation, with everything else that kind of stops this field from growing. So we've been partnering now with experts who can do fully homomorphic encryption, where the data actually does on a large scale, you have large scale data, but you do not need to access the patient's data. You basically kind of start asking questions of the AI. The AI makes a decision, keeps the firewall, and just answers those questions. And based on that, you do your analysis, kind of saving the patient data from being accessed from anyone. Very important part of creating platforms. On the computational side, GPUs are giving way to, so what we used to before was GPUs in order to process things on platforms. So they're giving way to cloud-based GPUs. And I think Colby is going to talk about that at some point. The ability to handle large-scale data on large-scale platforms and the interoperability of those platforms with everything else. If we don't have interoperability, all of these computational platforms are going to be useless over time. So I actually advocate for industry standard interconnections where we can all leverage each other's data based on whatever commercial agreement there is in order to maximize the effectiveness of what we're doing instead of building your own little infrastructure on your own platform.
Thank you. Okay, so Colby.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Colby. I run a consulting company called Tuple. We are a Microsoft and Databricks partner firm, and I think we're the only firm that focuses in the biotech space, specifically in bioinformatics and genomics. I'm the author of a book called Genomics in the Azure Cloud. It's an O'Reilly book. And really what we focus on is building up infrastructure that can scale elastically to meet the needs of your genomics processes. So think, all right, I have a bioinformatics pipeline that works really well on my computer, but that only lets me do one thing at a time. Now I need to do 1,000 samples as they come in from a clinical trial, for example. We scale to meet that need. We also, kind of following along with what Ali was talking about, is we focus on the actual data storage infrastructure as well. So we want to make sure that your data is organized in such a way that it makes sense for you to both find it and then also use that data to make the insights that you need. And so we think of things, especially in the genomics world, where we have really weird file types, right, that come out of our processes, and some of those files are not used after they're processed. We use things like variant data or maybe even protein structure data, but then the other stuff that was an intermediate step we don't use as much. And so what we do is we really focus on making sure that the most useful pieces of data are accessible by you and then also accessible by the compute infrastructure so that you can answer questions on your data at scale. One of the biggest things that we're working on now is the culmination of lots of therapeutic data or protein structure data in the design of novel therapeutics. So I'll link to some things in the chat, but one of the kind of latest frontiers is the ability to use large language models that instead of producing sentences of words, they produce sentences of amino acids that actually turn into, could potentially turn into a novel therapeutic, such as an antibody that's designed specifically for a specific type of mutation, either on a disease target or even on an infectious disease protein.
Okay, thank you. And Joe again. Joe. Okay, so Eric.
Wait, sorry about that. Here I am.
Okay, so just
sorry. So what's the topic is the next generation infrastructure and platform of AI powered genomic data analysis?
Yes. So you can share anything about, like, for example, that how actually they utilize genomic data for using in AI platform or something like that that makes like, for example, like privacy aware or the security way to share the data, exchange data, and then utilizing by AI, whatever you, based on your experience, your practice experience, you can share anything about the topic.
Yeah, so I think this industry, I mean, like companies like 23andMe, they're not GDPR or HIPAA compliant, and I think that there's a lot of infrastructure that we had to build around privacy and security and to be compliant with GDPR and also HIPAA as well. We wanted to be compliant with all these things. So that was a very big challenge. There's also a lot of infrastructure that we had to build around, for example, being able to take into account a whole bunch of different files, because you have fragmentation of people have one file from here, another file from there, and it has to go through a data pipeline. It has to be often imputed. So we've worked very hard on imputation software, very cutting edge imputation software, which uses AI. And the imputation software, essentially, you put in a file like a genotyping array, and we can impute 200 million variants. Now, the trick is to do that with good accuracy. So imputing rare variants. And so we have a published paper on that, comparing our imputation technology. And so that's been, so you can do quite a lot with these, with the right imputation technology. You can do, which uses AI. You can do a lot that is very similar to whole genome, for example. So we originally we didn't want to do, for example, pharmacogenomics or carrier status, because the genotyping arrays are not that good for these kinds of things. But with the right imputation, we found that it is accurate for 90% of the things. And so we're able to reduce the cost by quite a lot by providing, with the right imputation technology, to be able to provide pharmacogenomics and carrier status. And it also enhances the polygenic risk scoring as well. And so, yeah, I think that's been some significant changes where we've used AI. And what else is there? Yeah, I mean, so that's the infrastructure is just, it's a really significant issue in the industry, I think. And but I think it's important. People mention that not every company is going to do everything well, and I think there's going to be companies tackling very specific problems, and then maybe even sharing the ability to do different things well. One company has one technology that you could and so the synergy of all these technologies could have a very big impact.
Okay, thank you. And Amrie?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Yeah, let me go ahead and just share this one too. Put this up here. This came out about a couple of months ago. But as things are moving forward, obviously I mentioned the OpenAI. Got to have the other side of it with Google and DeepMind. They've released their AlphaFold 3 and now have a server that provides obviously an enormous amount of data and data points within their structure. Basically, they've got a setup within AlphaFold 3, if you're not aware of it, that basically is really leaning towards designing those new drug therapies and basically doing a predictive element where they're looking at different protein structures and how they interact with each other. The issue right now is the cost. I mean, right now to run it, it's about $100,000. And so obviously they're trying to basically through volume and usage, trying to drive that cost down. But that's a huge, unfortunately, deterrent, I think, for a lot of organizations to kind of get into from a data standpoint, a data analysis standpoint, but is something that is out there. But they have a huge database. They've got about 200 million protein structures that are already part of their mix, pretty widely used globally, which is great. And then again, I mentioned that server. There's the AlphaFold server that's now available. So if you're not aware of it, I've got this in the chat. So I'll send this over to you, but just wanted to make sure that that was one element that I thought would be beneficial. The other one is looking at, look at this one real quick. Yeah, I'll send this one over too. Artificial intelligence and genomics. This is off of Biomed Central, but it is a very, very relevant topic. And when it comes to the ability to track and trace a patient through a clinical trial, when it's going through track and tracing drug development, the ability to tie in generative AI to basically run models through that data and figure out how things are working, where they're working best, and obviously from a end result, what is the true outcome for that patient. That's where generative AI is the true complement to healthcare.
Okay, so we finally done we touch every aspect of the very important issues and challenges and current trend and the future directions of the this how to utilizing genomic data AI for the transforming digital health. Okay, so we have 10 minutes more to discuss further. So we'll have a many audience have a question in here, but I think that we'll have some interactive discussion. So someone actually leave a very important question in chat about the to make this genomic data used in a private and secure way. Actually, that require a lot of the current technology require a lot of the cost, right? Computing power. So who was that? And then he maybe show up and then share his insight. Daniel? Daniel, are you there?
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. Sorry, I was on mute myself.
Yeah.
I appreciate the question. So just as a brief intro, we are, I'm Daniel Uribe, I'm the CEO of Genobank. And what we do is we create a private encryption key per DNA kit. So that means that every single DNA kit that the users in the network uses creates their own identity. So they can actually encrypt the data using their own, basically a client-side encryption schema. And that creates a whole, I think, infrastructure for what we call patient-owned data sets. So it's obviously now powered by blockchain. This without the blockchain technology wouldn't be allowed, because we answer a very specific question. What happens if Genobank or whatever company disappears from the map? Let's say we're seeing now the drama in 23andMe. What would happen to my data and the governance of my data if 23andMe disappears? So we answer that question. The vault, the data sets will be owned by the user, and they will have access to it. Of course, if there's a storage problem, they will be invited to just download the only copy. But again, this is what I'm saying is 23andMe, it's a beautiful company, and it's going down because of data governance problems. If they would have like individualized the governance of each data set in an individual vault, let's say now they have like, I think 30 million customers. If each of those would have their own encryption key, that hack or that problem with their security wouldn't have happened, because that would be almost impossible to hack 13 million encryption keys at the same time. Maybe 10, 100, but not 6.9 million. That was a problem. So again, I think there is a lot of room to talk about how we empower the individual to own and control, like protect companies of data liabilities, and at the same time, allow interactions with all the beautiful and insightful bioinformatic pipelines that you all have. But again, without me as a user sharing with you my variants. I don't want, for instance, like the companies here to know what Daniel Uribe variants have. I want these data sets to be encrypted. I want to have the insights without, like informing any company or having my raw data in their servers. I think now we are in that, and without using fully homomorphic encryption as well, because it elevates the cost 10,000 times. So I think we are not there yet. But
I'm going to object there. So depends on the algorithm, maybe by 30%. So I can actually discuss the paper that we've just published basically in bioinformatics, in the bioinformatics journal on that. It's a we can discuss that, but no, I understand the cost issue. The reason I brought out the FHE is if people are providing the data on your platform and you're doing encryption keys for each, that's fine. We have this issue with hospital data. So it's about EMR data, Epic data, where the data was not collected in the first place with that approval in place. So in order to do any kind of training, it's not just the genetic data, it's the phenotypic data that's on the platform. And because they don't have the right to access it, the only way would be through these question and answers that are very smart questions and answers. In order to, it's selective. You don't actually send all the queries in order to get selective responses to be able to construct your model and train it on data that where you didn't have the initial permission to do so without accessing the data, basically.
Totally good. I mean, we work with only like NGS data sets. They're like 10 gigabytes.
I got what you.
10
what you're doing is
gigabytes
very
per
important.
user. So
Yeah,
you
what you're
think
doing is very important. My
exactly,
point is
exactly.
for real clinical research, we would need so much phenotypical data that your users would not be able to provide. That's only available in large scale data sets that are available at the hospital level. But thank you.
Totally get it. Like if you're asking my weight, if you're asking my if I am Latino or European, that's okay. Fully homomorphic will work better. But if you want to look into my 8,000 variants using homomorphic encryption, then I think it's not the right approach. So, but again, it is discussion on which data sets would be suitable for this fully homomorphic. In the meantime, again, is like again, there's many genomic information companies that I need to upload my data and then give them my copy of my BCF, my FASTQ files or whatever. Now it's avoidable. So now we can bring the algorithm to your own virtual machine, privacy preserving also for the company, taking care of their IP. We just run the algorithm. Exactly. So that's really what I think we should be, because it's a more hygienic way of interacting with the users, and we would prevent another 23andMe hack, which is like it is damaging the whole industry, because people is now, okay, no, you cannot have my DNA. I don't trust. You're gonna get hacked. My data is, and so on and so forth. So that's the only thing that I think we would be more than happy to collaborate with anybody that would be interested. And yeah, that's the interview. Thank you very much.
And I just put it in, I was going to say, I just put it in the chat, but if you're not aware of this, this just went down this past week around AI and some of the regulation around modeling. So again, I've just put it in the chat, FYI for you on that. Did think that was a huge relevant issue. And then there's also another one. This came out of the EU a few months back. This is back in July, I believe, was when this was approved. But in the EU itself, they've had a regulation around AI go into effect. And so there are some things kind of undermining that are happening right now. And so definitely, if you're in that world, stay on top of it, obviously from a both US standpoint, but also a global side of things, because we don't want to get tapped down into, obviously, you know, too many guardrails. We want to make sure that we have kind of more freedom and kind of that open speech type of emphasis on data now that some of those regulations are coming into play.
Okay, thank you. Landy, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I just introduced myself. I'm more like involved in the hands-on part of it from the behavioral health field. Unfortunately, the computer I'm using right now don't have a camera on it. So the place I used to work at, and I work now remotely with doctors, is called Pennsylvania Assessment Consultants for co-occurring disorders. So I got really involved with this by just the situation with COVID and therapists really having to alter their methods of even just, interacting with patients. And so I don't want to say the pharmaceutical company's name, but I helped out a pharmaceutical company when they were developing an app for opioid use disorder. And some of the things you were talking about were things that happened, because what they did is the patients, obviously, that saw me, I use it as an adjunct to treatment. So it was like, cognitive behavioral therapy, like kind of like 5 different models it used, but it was more based just on interacting. If you interacted with the app would respond to you. If you didn't interact with the app, it did nothing. So my thing was just to expose them to the application and hope they would like to use it. The interesting part is a couple of people mentioned to me that, when they put the application authorization number in, which was for free, is that, all these Google information started to appear on the side of their phone all the time. And they were leery of, like, is my data going to be breached somehow? Or does someone on Google have my information? because of that. So that was kind of something I'm not sure at that time that really got resolved with the company. And I guess the other thing was, like I said, with Finland, I guess there was a big data breach that I was made aware by a patient, where I believe like even the therapist's notes were going to be used as ransom, and they're going to just place them like online. And I think part of it was is they really weren't worried about someone trying to break into their system. They were more worried about providing a service, that was virtual, and they didn't really take I guess, a good look at like how digitally that stuff could be very easily exposed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are almost time to finish up. Okay, so this is my usual way to, after this webinar, that I'm going to post the chat, your question and comment in my LinkedIn profile with a link to the recording. So you can, for example, that you didn't get any answer, and then you can. I will also like have a link to all the speakers' LinkedIn profile, so you can find all the speakers where you can send a message. So actually, you can be more interactive in through my LinkedIn profile. That you have a specific question or that you want to discuss more, and any comment, you can keep continue on this fascinating topic, because we can talk more and more, right? Because unfortunately, we don't have more time to do this. But actually, the Ali, actually, you introduced about you're going to have a great event in the New York City in like November or October, right? It's about 2 days discussion. So
Right.
yeah, it may be interesting in this fascinating topic. Maybe attend, and I'm also attend. So it'll be a good opportunity to learn more about this. Okay, so thank you everyone, especially the great speakers. I honor to have you in my webinar, and then in a short time you share a lot of the things to actually we need we need to based on it, we can be like, for example, if we're using our more innovation and a better way to like treatment or the innovation business idea and where to get the fundraising, whatever, right? Because so it was all valuable, and especially for the interactive sessions of the audience participating in your share your whatever is doing and your insight, and I really appreciate about that. Okay, thank you. And then I will notice that I have a regular to have the webinar. So next topic I will share is I'm going to recently I'm thinking about how to make a digital health as a mainstream healthcare. Is a very big topic. So I keep continuing on this topic. So next topic will be about how about to convergence of the recent trend in telemedicine and home care, and then digital therapeutics and remote patient monitoring. It's a very interesting topic. So I will invite you. The next topic will be about AI, and then that is not the good the not just the traditional way to like how AI to apply in healthcare, but actually what's the issue and problem with the current state of AI. Actually, the Eric mentioned about some way to actually the regulation, whatever. So I'm going to invite the expert in that area. He is an expert he is a physician and also like a technology area, and then she will share about her insight about what's the current state of AI and what's the problem, and then what's the cure. And then another topic that I'm thinking about is many things. I will share you I will let you know. Okay, so thank you. And then I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. Okay.
Alex, are
you.
you going to put the link in the chat before we log off where people can find the recording?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
And
yeah,
everybody can copy
yeah.
it.
So just because I invite you, so you know about my LinkedIn profile, right? So I will after light up this one. Actually, I'm going to put the recording in the YouTube, and then I will share where you find the recording, and also like share through the email. I have about almost all registered participants, except that they don't share their email. So in many way to actually I will let you know about where you find the recording, And then especially in my LinkedIn profile, I will put every chat you have shared today in there, and then share where you find other speakers and other people. And then you can keep going on about whatever you have, a question, answer, comment, you can keep going on. Okay.
Perfect. Thanks,
Yeah.
Alex.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for everybody
Yeah.
joining. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye-bye.